What's good, everyone? It's Maru Uchiha back here with another What If. And this What If is going to be what if Deku was Excalibur Umbra from Warframe. Now, basically, I'll explain Excalibur Umbra's abilities because I can't really explain who he is because they didn't say what his original name was. But Excalibur Umbra was basically a human in a sense that got turned into a Warframe against his own will, and he ended up becoming very rogue and like a wolf almost, because most warframes are supposed to be controlled, but he's not. Like, how do I put it? Like, yeah, he's basically rogue. Like, he doesn't have to follow the orders that he's given. And now, all warframes, if you've played the game, they all have 4 abilities. Now, I'll just explain his abilities real quick, because I may give him another, but I don't know, maybe. But his first ability is slash dash, which allows him to basically, like, he makes kind of like this blade out of energy, and then he'll do a dash to anyone 5 meters in front of him. And yes, he can kind of chain, like, if the people are close together and he uses that ability, he'll hit one dude and then go to the other two as well, even though he was only aiming for one. Like, he'll just magnetically pull towards the others. And yeah, his second ability is called Radio Howl, where he'll basically, yeah, he'll howl like a wolf almost. And when he does the howl, he'll it blinds enemies in a 15 meter radius for 15 seconds. And that is more than enough for him to kill you. So, yeah. And his third ability, which is called Radial Javelin, he'll basically make like these, yeah, kind of like javelin or sword type weapons made of energy. And when, you use the ability, they will instantly, like, stab into whoever it was targeted on. Like, anyone in a 15-meter radius is getting stabbed by one of those javelins. And if they're weak enough, they're getting flung into a wall and they're dying. But if they're strong enough, they're just gonna get hit with it and they'll be fine. And then his final ability is called Exalted Blade, where he'll make a basically a sword out of nothing but pure energy, just kind of just like soul energy almost. And it basically cuts through damn near any and everything in his path. Yeah, but Deku, like, yeah, that's what that's just what his powers are. And Umbra's passive ability is basically like with all blade related melee weapons, like all like swords, dual swords, heavy swords, all those types of things, like the one he's holding in this picture. He basically, like, he's a lot faster. Like, he swings the weapon a whole lot faster when he's using a sword compared to if he's using another type of weapon. And yeah, that should be about it. I can't fully remember, but yeah, that should be about it. If you guys want, or if you guys know about Warframe, recommend some more abilities, and hey, maybe I'll do them. Or maybe I'll add them in, like give him those added abilities. Because trust me being a nerd, I've played this game a lot, I know all of them. So yeah, if you guys want me to do more Warframe related what ifs, you put it in the comments below, and just let me know. And yeah, like, that's about it. So where we're going, like, let's get into this. So where we're gonna start off is with Deku, and a little bit of context. He's been dating Uraka for a while because they're at their second year of UA. Because it's not gonna be a college in this, but he's still gonna be like, I don't know what to call it. Like, he's still just like, it's still a high school, but I mean, yeah, like that's about it. It's a high school, and Bakugo actually has a sister in this. Bakugo actually has a sister, and Bakugo's sister, and like just for some context, actually ended up asking out Deku, but Izuku just rejected her because Izuku liked Uraraka, so yeah, he rejected her, and she was quite sad about it. Just thought I'd give you all a little bit of context there. And no one knows what Deku's power is, because I mean, at the moment he has one for all, but he's gonna get a much stronger power later on. If you all see where I'm going with this, and what ends up happening is Deku, he like this will take like the USJ and all that. It hasn't happened yet. It was gonna happen in their second year, and while that's happening, like Deku, he's coming back from school. He sees that no one's there, like no one's in the what's it called, the room or whatever the heck it's called. Yeah, just no one's in the common room in their dorms, because yeah, they have dorms, but they're not going to the USJ just yet. And what ends up happening is now Deku, he's like, no, let me go find Uraraka so we could talk. And now he makes his way to her room, and you know, Deku, he's not like he's a little oblivious, but he at least knows like most things. And now as he's getting closer, he can hear some specific sounds. If you all if you all get what I'm saying, like he's hearing some noises, and he's like, no, no, there's no way. As he ends up getting closer and everything, he gets closer. He opens the door to see Uraraka and Bakugo basically screwing, and he's like, Uraraka, how could you? As she looks over, and I'm not even gonna try to do any of the sounds, but basically she's basically telling him, "Oh no, 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 that gun, it's not what you think. It's not what you think." But as she's saying that, like she's moaning mid sentence each time, and moaning Bakugo's name. And he's like, "Kachan, I thought we were friends. How could you do this to me?" As no, Bakugo, Bakugo's kind of like, "Shitty nerd. You wanted to break my sister's heart, so now I'm gonna do this to break yours." As he basically keeps going, and eventually, while that happens, like Deku, he's just sitting there looking at this, and he's just like, I can't believe it. As what he decides to do afterwards is he's like, you know what, fine, and he leaves. He leaves the room. He goes back to his dorm. He sits there and he's just crying. Like he's just crying. He goes to sleep and everything. He wakes up the next day, goes downstairs where he actually he's like, "Hey guys," as he get like Mina runs up to him and basically slaps him across the face, and he's like, "What was that for?" As Mina's like, "Don't you lie, or don't act innocent. We both know what you did." As Deku's like, "What did I do?" As Mina slaps him again on the other cheek and basically says, "You cheated on Uraraka with some random girl." As he's like, "No, I didn't." As Mina punches him. Mina punches him in the face this time, and Mina's like, "Stop lying. We both know that you did." And Deku in his mind, he's like, "So this is what we do now, huh? So this is this is just what happens now, huh? Now I know why. Now I know why All Might said not to trust anyone, because basically while Mina's yelling at Deku and everything, Ochako, she's crying. The girls are comforting him, or comforting her, as, Bakugo's with the rest of the dudes, except Kaminari and Shinzo, because they're off doing their own thing. As what happens is, Deku, he basically gets pummeled by his class. Ida throws a recibo burst straight into his ribs, cracking like 3 ribs. Kirishima punches him in the jaw, breaking his jaw. Bakugo throws some explosions, leaving a scar kind of like this on his face. And, all this is happening, and, while that's happening, he's just getting pummeled by the boys and the girls. So, All Might walks in, and he's like, do you all know where Young Midoriya, as he runs over, he pushes them away from Midoriya and picks him up, and he's like, Young Midoriya, can you hear me? Speak to me, as he's like, All Might, as Midoriya passes out, and not Deku, All Might looks towards the class with, kind of like how he did when he was mad, how he just kind of had that, those burning blue eyes when he was mad. He looked at them like that, and he's like, if Young Midoriya ends up dying, I'm going to kill you all. As Bakugo's like, why would you help that cheater? As he's like, what? What do you mean? As, they pull out a photo and show a photoshopped image of Deku kissing a girl. As All Might goes, that's fake. You can clearly see that it's fake. What the heck? You all can clearly see this. As, some of the boys, they start to realize that, and as they realize that, Ochako gets a sweat drop down her face. But, Bakugo manages to convince them that, maybe, it's not fake. Maybe it's just it was a badly taken photo. The quality of the photo was so bad it looked photoshopped. And the boys, being idiots, they agreed. So, All Might runs off with Deku, taking him to the nurse's office, or taking him to Recovery Girl. And along the way, All Might ends up running into Aizawa, Nezu, Aizawa, Nezu, not Shota, Shinzo, and, what was his name? Kaminari, that's it. So he runs into those 4, as Aizawa asks, he's like, All Might, why are you in a rush? Is that Midoriya? As, All Might's like, no time to explain, just follow me. As, they all run with All Might going to Recovery Girl. As, All Might, he bursts through the door. He's like, Recovery Girl. As she turns, she's like, Toshinori, how many times must I tell you to stop bursting into this room? Oh no! She's surprised. She's like, get him on the bed now. As he sets him on the bed, and All Might backs up. As she's like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to get him into surgery fast. As Deku, he's getting put All Might has to leave the room, and Deku's going through surgery, and while that happens, Aizawa and all them run up, Aizawa, Nezu, Shinzo, and Kaminari. They all run up, and they're like, "What happened to Deku or Midoriya?" As what ends up happening is All Might tells them what happened, and they're furious. Shinzo's like, I'm gonna have them kill each other, and Kaminari's like, I'm gonna fry their brains worse than I fry mine. As I was like, I'm gonna expel them. As Nezu, being the more sadistic one, he's like, I'm gonna have them experimented on. As they all just kind of look at Nezu and they're like, what the hell? That's low. That's a little evil even for us. As Nezu's like, oh sorry, I thought we were acting evil. And they all sit down basically, they are tearing up. Like, heck, Nezu is crying because Nezu sees Midoriya as like an older brother. Because I'm just gonna make it like Nezu is incredibly intelligent, but Nezu's like around Aries' age. Like, like that's just one thing I'm adding in. Like Nezu is basically like 6 or 7, but is just incredibly intelligent. So yeah, he's the president, like he's the principal of UA, but he still kind of acts like a child at times. So he looks up to Midoriya as a brother. And so yeah, Nezu's crying, Aizawa's tearing up, All Might's crying, Kaminari's crying while Shinzo's holding him, and yeah, like everyone is just not happy at the moment. And you know, Deku, while he's so battered up and bruised, Recovery Girl, she's done with her. What's it called? She's done with her. Damn it! I can't fucking. She's done with the surgery. That's it. She's done with the surgery. And once she finishes her surgery, she leaves the room to go tell them what happened, like what happened to him, or like ask what happened to him, but also tell them about the damage he sustained. And the damage he sustained, it was about like, well, I'm talking like a broken rib, some acid on his body. He's deaf in one ear. He's blind in one eye. He has a broken jaw, a cracked skull, a cracked femur, and yeah, like he is just all types of fucked up. One of his legs is bent the entire wrong way, and yeah. And basically, while that's happening, while all of that's happening, Deku's like sort of conscious, where he opened his eyes, but he can't speak or anything due to broken jaw, and he can't move because, well, he's fucked up. So yeah, he's not moving worth a damn right now. As he would see a translucent person, so to speak, and the translucent person would basically be Eri, and he would kind of see what's happening to Eri because, well, I didn't explain what Deku's quirk is because he has one for all at the moment, but what his original quirk that he got, but no one told him, so he just thought he was quirkless. His original quirk is Warframe, like I said, so he looks like Umbra at the moment, or he's gonna look like Umbra when he activates his quirk. And Aries' quirk is Rewind, but she also has the quirk called Operator. And Aries' quirk basically allows her to, in a sense, like, it allows her to, she can basically control the Warframe, or, like, kind of fuse with the Warframe, almost kind of like an Iron Man suit type of thing, but the suit's alive as well, so they're both working together. That's what Aries' quirk is. Like, she has Rewind and the Operator quirk, while Deku has Warframe. So, the Warframe quirk and the Operator quirk are supposed to go together. Like, mostly they're supposed to be in families, like, older sister, younger brother, or, vice versa, or same gender, but, yeah, stuff like that. That's how it's supposed to go. And Deku's seeing what's happening to Eri, and he's quite mad at the moment, so he's like trying to move and everything, but he's like, I can't do anything. As just out of rage, he ends up like charging up One for All, trying to like force his body to get up. But as he's doing this, he's actually helping Eri because he's overloading her power. Because the Operator, yeah, it has the power to control the Warframe and everything and work with the Warframe. But the Operator itself also has some abilities, like being Void Dash, Void Singularity, and, just a couple shooting, like, energy beams. Along with, like, a Void Push or, like, Blast that it can give off. So Deku charging up one for all actually ends up making Eri accidentally charge a Void Blast, knocking back one of the uh, Yakuza members into the wall, knocking him unconscious. But, Eri still gets taken off somewhere, and Deku can't sense her anymore, so he's like, damn it. I could have saved her if I just got up in time. And, they all come in, and, eventually, they all walk in to where Deku is, and they see that Deku is, he's sitting up now. He managed to force his body to at least sit up, so he's kind of sitting up, and they're all like, you're awake, as he's like, yeah, I'm awake. And, he looks towards all of them, he's like, hey, guys, they hug him, but he's like, hey, I'm still wounded. If you hug me any tighter, you may actually kill me. As they're like, oh, sorry, Midoriya. And what ends up happening is, Deku's, how do I put it? He's quite, aggravated at the moment, because, Class 1A beating him, plus, the girl he couldn't save, so he is kind of mad. And, just out of pure anger, he's charging a One For All again. But this time, One For All goes up to about, I'm just gonna say 35%. And that forcefully activates Deku's quirk. Because once that happens, Deku, once he charges up to 35%, he would then get covered in armor. He'd get covered in this metal suit, kind of like this Deku in the middle. He'd get covered in a metal suit like this, all green and everything. But then it would change as it turns black, and it gains some more armor as a scarf would appear. And, all of a sudden this big blade would just kind of summon into his hand. And he's like, what's happening? And, he's kind of freaking out. And they're like, hey, calm down. Recovery girl, she's like, Midoriya, calm down. Deep breaths as he's like, alright, I'm calm. As he deactivates and he goes back to normal, and he's like, what was that? As they're like, I don't know, maybe you activated your quirk, or maybe you activated your quirk. As everyone that I mentioned, all the ones that weren't beating him, they all thought, they all knew that Deku had One For All, and they knew he was quirkless. So they're like, maybe your quirk activated. Maybe you aren't actually quirkless. As he's like, yeah, maybe you're right. I should try this. As Deku, he's a little skeptical, but he's like, well, alright. And he's like, well, I'll try it in a couple days when I'm fully healed. They're like, yeah, alright. So we'll see you later, Midoriya. And she's like, yeah, I'll see you guys later. As Deku basically, what he does is he ends up walking, or not walking, he ends up going to sleep, and he's just kind of in his mindscape, just kind of sleeping. And while he's sleeping, he ends up seeing kind of almost the future, but not really. Or yeah, he does end up seeing the future, and he basically sees himself and another girl, a little girl, and he's like, what the hell? What am I doing with the girl? The girl kind of has a sword at her hip, and Deku, he's walking around with this oversized blade, ready to throw hands with anyone who wants it. He doesn't care. So, what Deku decided, what Deku's looking at, he's like, what should I probably do? What is it that I should do? Because this is kind of weird. What is it, why am I seeing this? And, the girl and, Deku, they end up turning, and, future Deku and the future girl, which we all are going to be classifying as Eri, because, Eri's going to start to change a little later on. They all look at Deku as they say, huh, so you're what, So you're what our power is going to go to. You're who our power is going to go to. As Deku's like, wait, what? As Umbra would, stay quiet because Umbra can't speak. He can only growl and howl. As the girl, she's like, well, how should I put it? You and that girl you saw, you all are going to end up getting our powers. As he's like, oh, okay, wait, what? Like, he's like, wait, hold on, what? I'm going to end up getting you all's powers? As they're like, yeah. Or like, Umbra nods as she's like, yeah, you're basically going to get this big oath. You're going to get his powers. As the girl gets mine. As, no, he's like, alright, well, what are my powers? As Deku, like, basically, they begin to explain what all of Umbra's powers are, because I'm not going to explain them again. And while that's happening, like, Deku's like, okay, I should probably find out, like, how, well, not how, I should probably find out, like, how to find that girl. Like, I should look for where that girl is. As, no, black-haired lady, she's like, oh, don't worry, you'll be able to sense where she's at all times pretty soon. And you'll be able to tell if she's hurt or if she's alright. As Deku goes, alright, well, fine. Let's do this, I guess. Or I need to go back. As he's like, as they're like, alright, well, we'll see you later. We'll train you when you find the girl. But for the time being, you know how to use the abilities. So, yeah. As, Deku, he ends up like, how do I put it? Like, Deku, he wakes, or not wakes up, like, he's still in the mindscape for a second. They're quiet, and he's like, how do I get out? As as the black-haired girl, I don't know what to give her a name, so at the moment she's just gonna be black-haired girl. She would facepalm and she goes, oh god, he's as dense as you are. As Umbra would just look at her with a look that just says, really? As she would just go, Umbra, bring him back into the real world. As Umbra would then proceed to pull out his blade and just rush at Deku, slashing him, which would cause Deku to wake up. And he wakes up almost like he just got a nightmare. He jumps up, alright, I'm cool. No scars, no cuts. Alright, I'm alright. It's all cool. As, they all walk in, they're like, oh, he's awake. Guys, come in, he's awake. And he's like, what do you mean I'm awake? All I did was go to sleep for a couple hours. And they're like, Midori, you've been asleep for a few days. You're fully healed, but you're just in kind of like a coma. As he's like, oh, well, I mean, I'm awake now, so, yeah. As they're like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's go, or let's help you out. Like, let's do this. Or let's help you up. They get him up, and, he's a little wobbly because, he hasn't used his legs in a while, so he's wobbling a little, but he gets the hang of it. He heads back to the dorm system. And I might add, Deku ended up getting, like, a whole lot, like, he ended up getting a little beefier. Like, you know how Umbra's physique is, like, with the muscles and everything? That's basically how Deku's body's gonna be like. And he's gonna be about as tall as Umbra, which would be about, like, 7 foot. So, yeah, Deku's gonna be around, like, 7 feet tall. So, yeah, he's gonna be a tall motherfucker. As what ends up happening is Deku walks in, and the moment he walks in, everyone sees him there, and, all the ones that realized that it was fake, they go over to him, they bow, and they say sorry, and he's like, it's fine, but you're gonna have to earn your trust again if you want me. I'll forgive you, but you have to earn your trust again. As they're like, we will, we promise. As he's like, alright then. And some of the other people, they're like, or some of the other people in the Class 1A being the Baku squad, they're like, I'm not gonna apologize to him. He's a cheater. As, they're like, no, he's not. Like, the rest of Class 1A is defending Deku. And while that's happening, like, Deku decides, he's like, you know what, that's enough. As he basically does this, like, hold on. So yeah, Deku basically does a howl like that, which ends up like it ends up kind of like not really knocking them unconscious, but it does daze everyone in Class 1A. And when it does that, he's like, that's enough. As you know, he's like, I'm just gonna go to my room. Don't talk to me. As he's walking off, but you know, Uraraka is following him, and he's like eventually he makes it to his room and he turns around. He's like, why the hell are you following me? And she's like, come on, Deku-kun. Come on, let's just get back together. As he's like, no, get the hell away from me. And she's like, come on, let's just get back together. As he's like, no, I'm gonna punch you. Go away. And she's like, oh yeah, well, you can't stop me. We're going to get back together. And he's like, you and what army? As he walks in, just shuts the door in her face and locks it. As he's like, nope, not finna take any chances. As you know, he locks his windows too. And when he does that, like, he's like, alright, well, let me change this up. As he ends up, like, changing up his room a lot. Like, he changes it up to the point where, like, it's quite, like, black. Like, it's black and white, basically. And in the middle is kind of like this little shrine. And seeing how Deku ended up gaining the sword when, like, Deku ended up getting it, like, he ended up getting the sword once he learned about his powers. He actually took, like, he took this big sword that he has right here, the Paracesis. He takes out the sword, he sets it on the shrine as he meditates in front of the sword. And the sword's radiating this, like this aura that kind of gives hope. Like, it's just, like, light itself. So, Deku, he's like, okay, I can get used to this. As he's meditating and everything, he's getting used to it. He's kind of, like, absorbing the aura, and the aura's kind of, like, supercharging him, which causes, like, he goes into his Warframe form, like, you know, start off at green, then he makes it to black, and then he makes it to this blue form, which he gains from the sword. Because, yeah, he's gonna have, like, 3 forms. Because the 3 forms are gonna go like this. Like, it's gonna be regular Deku, Umbra, or Excalibur Deku, Umbra Deku, and then, the Primal Fury Deku, which is basically him but at his max. Like, he is almost like his 100% one for all type of form. Because it's not just him using, you know, his Warframe quirk. It's him also using one for all as well. So it's one for all with the sword and with this Warframe. So, you know, he activates the primal form. He's trying to stay in that form for as long as he can. Because, you know, he's meditating, so, you know, if his body can get used to all the fatigue and everything, he'll be fine. So, you know, it ends up charging up all the lights and everything. Like, it ends up charging up all these lights on Deku, so he's kind of glowing in a sense. And electricity's coming off of him. This light blue electricity's coming off of him as he's just sitting there meditating, just staying calm. As in his head, he's like, I wonder, what should I do as revenge? As he thinks about it for a second, and he's like, oh, actually, I think I have a great idea. Because Bakugo, like, heads up, Bakugo and Ida, they did the most damage to Deku. And, yeah, like, basically, yeah, they did the most damage, and they wounded him the most. So he's like, yeah, I thought of the best revenge for them. No, he's done meditating, and, like, he stands up, and he's like, alright, I think I know just what to do. As he picks up the sword disappears into, like, a blue electricity, and the electricity goes back into his hand. As he deactivates it, he goes back and then you know transforms again and then goes back to regular Deku. Or if I want, he'll just skip straight to the strongest without even doing all the other transformations. So no, he'll get on some good drip. I can't really think of it, but think of like some black Air Forces, some nice black jeans, and like a gray hoodie. And just for fun, the gray hoodie's gonna say these hands are rated E for everyone. As he throws that stuff on. He laces up his shoes and everything. He decides to like cut his hair a little, giving himself like a little bit of a fade. And as he does that, he decides to go and drop by the support class. If you see where I'm going with this, you may love it. As as Deku, he walks up to the room, or he walks up to the door to the sport classroom. He's like, "All right, time to say hi." As he's about to open the door when he gets this sudden feeling to move, so he jumps out of the way as the door comes bursting off the hinges with a huge explosion, and he ends up catching Hatsume like before she fell on the ground. As she's like, "Wait, who's holding me?" As she opens her eyes and she sees Deku. Then she's like, Midoriya, is that you? She's like, yeah, it's me. Keep in mind, I might add, he is still quite built, like kind of like this. So he is very tall and very built right now. And he's like, yeah, it's me. She's like, oh, I didn't know that was you. As he's like, yeah. So I came to ask you a question, Natsume. As she's like, sure, what is that? She's like, as that's where actually I'm gonna leave it off for now. If you all like it, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and leave some feedback in the comments below if you want me to, do something. If you got any ideas for me, I'm willing to do just about anything. So, yeah. So, if you got any ideas, make sure to throw them into the comments. I don't know how long this series is going to be, but it's not going to be that long. So, yeah. I may upload later this morning. So, yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Maru Uchiha, signing off. Peace.